Hello Thandiwe, welcome at Longchamp. So happy.
Beautiful, I love it so much.
Here you are Thandiwe. I'm super happy to introduce you your artwork here in our Rue de Passy store in Paris. Welcome in the Longchamp family. How did you imagine this special artwork? What was the idea behind?
I think I've always been fascinated with textiles. So for me, everything begins with the fabric. I work with a fabric called Ankara or Dutch wax. At home, we call it kitenge. And then I try and decide what it wants to be. I design the clothing that I think will bring out the personality of the textile, maybe playful, maybe a little bit more aggressive, maybe a bit more daring. And then once I do that, I work with tailors in Nairobi to begin to stitch the clothing. While they do that, I am deeply inspired by objects that you find, everyday objects that you find in your house, usually in your kitchen, things you would ignore. And so in this particular artwork, I was inspired to use scissors. I've wanted to create glasses from scissors for a long time. I've tested different prototypes, and finally, I think in this piece, it came together beautifully. And then the final step is to reference historical hairstyles, and I make them a little bit bigger and a bit more eccentric maybe than they were. And then I bring it all together in the studio and create one photograph with all the pieces coming together. Yeah, it's a really fun process.
In between the work of the textile, the work of the little accessories, the work of the hair, it's you use a lot of different kind of craftsmanship.
I think I only produce in Kenya. And it's because I have to produce with my community. I can't create a piece of art without the people, the craftsmen around me. So whether it's somebody doing the hair or the tailors who are stitching the clothing, we work together to create this beautiful piece. I love African proverbs. And there's this African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so I want to go with my community so we can go far. I mean, the artwork has moved from Nairobi to, the collection of Longchamp, which is, I couldn't do without the help of my community.
When I am doing the collection, I always start by the color palette, which give me the inspiration of the story behind. So it's funny to see that the process to create artwork or a collection can be very similar.
I see, for me, color is a language by itself, and it's as powerful and as complicated as words can be. So, of course, color is important in my work, and one of the things I really love about the brand is the use of very vibrant, bold colors. Maybe I'm African, we like loud colors, but for me, I think colors have a way of influencing our moods, our feelings, and that's something I want to bring into my artwork, and something that clothing, I think, does for women and everybody else.
Is there a meaning behind the pattern itself for you?
I am obsessed with the idea of an optical illusion and making the eye move as it looks at an image, and almost maybe confusing the eye a little bit. So I'm looking for a print that has that characteristic. It's a perfect description of my identity as an African woman. I'm taking this traditional cloth, but I'm taking it with this modern print, which is a little bit like my world. I'm definitely African, but I live in a modern world, and it's a fusion of different cultures that influence who I am. And I want that to reflect in the work, because it is, as much as it's artwork, it is a journal of my own journey as a woman and my worldview and my experience of womanhood in today's world. And part of that experience is a very global experience. So also it helps if the print is a little playful.
So, Thandiwe, you were talking about the woman that you are as a woman artist and the women that are in your artwork. Can you explain me how you see the art and woman, how you combine both two?
To tell you that story, I have to tell you a bit about my past. So I live in Kenya, and Kenya can be a very patriarchal culture. I was raised in a family of only girls. So my parents raised us not as women to be good wives and mothers, but to be strong, independent women. That journey led me to become a photographer, a commercial photographer, which is not a very usual job for women in Kenya. But I didn't know that because I wasn't raised to know that I shouldn't be a photographer. Over time working in the industry, I realized that there were very few women in the room. And that led me to begin to ask questions like, is there something wrong with me for wanting to do something that clearly I was gifted at, but was a little unconventional? Do I add value to my community if I'm doing something different than what they've prescribed for me? I think there's a lot of myself in the work. The women disappear in the background because I felt like if I was just what society wanted me to be, I would just disappear. And yet, even as they disappear, they're very prominent in the pictures. These are portraits of power, I think, because they represent the woman that I hope that I could be, confidently myself, unapologetically myself, and there is a beauty and a charisma around that. One of the things I've realized in doing this series is I thought I was the only one struggling with these questions, but as I've shared this work with the world, with other women, I've realized I'm not alone. And so what's become a lonely journey has turned into a journey where I have women who are traveling with me to ask these questions. I love African proverbs. And so there's an African proverb that says, a bird doesn't sing because it has answers, it sings because it has songs. So I don't know if I'm any closer to answering those questions, but now I have a community that can question and journey with me.
Wow. And you talking about proverb, one of your proverbs that is particularly resonating for me. The past is in your head and the future is in your hands.
Yes.
It's something that speaks to me a lot because we are a family company that my grandparents found. You know, we are on 4 generations. So the past and the future is something that speaks to me a lot. Can you explain me what does it mean for you?
I really love that proverb. I think for me, it's a reminder about how much power we have to change what is ahead of us. But I cannot be who I am today. I cannot be who I could be tomorrow without the history behind me. And I need the history behind me to inform and inspire who I would be in the future. So for me, that's what it means. It's a very hopeful message. It fills my heart with hope because, yeah, there's a power to change things, but we can learn lessons from the past and be inspired from the past to create a better tomorrow.
For sure. We had the great chance that you make a special work for us, a special artwork that is going to be our greeting cards for this next year. So of course, for me it's mean a lot. I know you work on our history with all your craftsmanship and all your team. It's going to follow us for the whole next year. Thank you for being with us today and for being part of the Longchamp family now.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Thandiwe.